There's nothing in the files that surfaced or that's been found that makes Bill Clinton like, okay, he's going to testify. He's probably just going to testify that Trump's a monster.
This is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello, and welcome to the Think Tank, where we use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, and just a pinch of common sense to draw unbiased and logical conclusions. Today, we're here to talk about the Epstein dump of files, of which we know there are at least 6 million that are being discussed at the present moment, even though in December, when it was supposed to be finished and completed and all the files were supposed to be released because of the Epstein Transparency Act put into law by Congress and signed into law by President Donald Trump, there were only 10,000 files being acknowledged at that point. Now, 50% of the 6 million files have been released. So we have 3 million files. Here to discuss this with me today is my co-host, as always, the Honorable Dion Powell.
Hi, this is strictly the Dion Powell of the Bronx Conservative Party. I'm America First, borderline America Only side of the MAGA family. I'm a consultant, strategist, community organizer, and overall try to be a good guy.
So, the release of the Epstein files.
Oh, okay. Well,
So the release of the Epstein files has seemed to have been explosive. Donald Trump's name was mentioned. I have to correct myself. I said 500,000 times over the weekend live, when it's only about 5,000 times, 5,300 times. So I reported incorrectly and need to do a correction on that. His name is only mentioned 5,300 times in 5,300 different files. Bill Clinton's names come up a lot, not nearly as much as Trump, but Bill Clinton's names come up a lot as well.
thank you. And so other people that should be mentioned.
Yes, but none of them as horrific as the accusations that have been put on Donald Trump. But a lot of the people that have been coming up don't seem to be in Bill Clinton's circle. They all seem to be the people around Donald Trump. Isn't that odd?
Yes, that the media is focusing on that. Actually, it's not odd because I actually depend on the media just to focus on Trump and not doing a dip or dive on anybody else's name that's mentioned in there more than 100 times.
So Bill Clinton is coming to testify. Do you think that's going to help Donald Trump?
I'm not sure actually, but it would help Donald Trump in the sense that the right-wing media would report as such. Now, if I could allow me to briefly share my screen, I would like to share what I discovered on the ground, which is ground news. So let's see what it has to say today. So I'm going to pop in the word Epstein. And whoops, messed up. So as you can see from here, I'll put Epstein files, and you get all these wonderful things here. So when I put the Epstein files, Bill Clinton, let's see what comes up. Always look for the most current date. All right, February 3rd, fine. So a nice comprehensive. I'll go to the AI. Finalized agreement to testify before Congress. They issued subpoenas on July 25th. And then threats of February 4th contempt vote to hold them in contempt. They rejected the Clintons' proposal for a 4-year transcribed interview in New York. That's unreasonable. And accepted the film transcribed depositions Monday. So they're going to film these guys. They agreement prevented for now a House contempt vote and possible criminal referrals because they were going to refer these guys to criminal charges, the Clintons, that is. And the Rules Committee suspended its planned contempt vote after the Clintons argued. Clinton spokesman Urena said they look forward to settling a precedent that applies to everyone as the U.S. Department of Environment releases more than 3 million pages and Bill Clinton features frequently in the oversight panel's months deep depth investigation. So this is bigger than what, on the surface, Leo, because remember, they did the same thing to Donald Trump and they argued with his lawfare. But I'm very proud and pleasantly surprised the Clintons did this.
So, 3 million files. What horrific things was released about Bill Clinton in these files? What has he been accused of?
Who knows? But I remember Bubba when I was in high school, so anything's possible. I know he's a nasty man.
So he had a grown woman in the Oval Office giving him fellatio. Oh my God, he's such a terrible person. I think I'm going to go to jail too if that's against the law.
At the time, America had a different moral compass, but okay.
But Donald Trump was measuring.
But Donald Trump, that's funny.
Well, Donald Trump was measuring junior high school girls' urethra with the voila. I don't remember the word, but it's basically their pee hole. Inside their pee hole, with his fingers, he was measuring their tightness and rating them. He hit a girl, a junior high school girl, because she bit down while giving him fellatio. A junior high school girl. He had calendar girls. He had a whole thing full of calendar girls. These were junior high school girls that were being sold off to old men during some. What the heck is up wrong with this man? Like, how could you even compare Bill Clinton, who you can't even name what he did in the Epstein files, when all you have to do is go to the government website and type in Bill Clinton's name and everything he done comes up. There's a website for it, but nothing comes up under Bill Clinton that Donald Trump's Department of Justice released. So with all of the stuff that you're trying to deflect onto Bill Clinton, nothing is surfacing under the files they have. Hey everybody, this is your boy Leo. You know me. I've been doing commercials for 15 years, television commercials, radio ads, billboards. Now I'm trying to step it into the big leagues. I want to be an independent filmmaker. I've got the degrees, I've got the experience, and I need your help to make my first independent film, Garot. So Garot is Boys in the Hood meets Clue. So these dudes from Brooklyn is trying to buy their drugs to supply the hood. So they go to the mafia stronghold and they purchase their drugs, but one of them turns up dead. And now there's a race to find out who did it. The Godfather's going to send in his hit squad, Squadra Assassina, to take them out. They don't figure out who did it because somebody died on his turf and he's not happy and he can't have stuff like that happening in his business. So please, if you want to show support, my Kickstarter campaign is down in the description box. But they accidentally released files with Donald Trump's Department of Justice under Pam Bondi, accidentally released files showing that Donald Trump's a monster and everybody in his circle is involved. They're all implicated. Now, to report accurately, nothing has been proven. These are all accusations.
So why all the energy poured into this, Leo, if nothing's been proven? Just to get people excited and turn on Donald Trump, when we should focus on the hearings with the Clintons.
Because the files don't show anything that Bill Clinton could that Congress is going to get from them. There's nothing in the files that surfaced or that's been found that makes Bill Clinton like, okay, he's going to testify. He's probably just going to testify that Trump's a monster. Because there's nothing about Bill Clinton there was rumors that Bill and Hillary were going to separate and all of that. The files released and Bill Clinton is walking away like nothing. But Donald Trump, on the other hand, who's saying, I've been vindicated. He had calendar girls. This was a modeling agency that these girls came to, and they was trying to get under Donald Trump and try and get down because he had these modeling agency things he was doing with Epstein back in the 90s. These were junior high school girls, and there were multiple accusations from multiple different calendar girls and so on that Donald Trump was sexually molesting, assaulting them, bodies in Mar-a-Lago's yard, literally in these files. It's compromised with Russia. Like these files are explosive, and I think the MAGA world is probably reeling from it. But I guess there's people that are just like, nothing to see here, right?
Well, there's something to see here, but people like me want to see, equal and equitable coverage of such information, not just always, but Donald Trump. All right. Oh, and by the way, we see Bill Gates contracted STD by Donald Trump,
Oh yeah, Bill
and
Gates.
so
But who did he contract an STD from? Was it a minor?
was
That's
it
the
from Donald
question.
Trump? No.
Was it a? I didn't. What are you talking about, Donald Trump? Was it? You said Bill Gates. Was it a minor?
I
Did
don't
he?
know.
Bill Gates get so then what is there to talk about? So what? He got an STD. So what?
Well,
What
the
did he
point
do that was?
is,
We're talking about the
we
people that
don't
have done
know.
illegal things. And the accusations in the files against Bill Gates wasn't with minors. The
The
people that
media is not focusing on that. I'm sure there's a Substack somewhere and some conspiracy person that was labeled that somewhere that has more information in Bill Gates. But you guys always remind your audience that majority of these files are what? Redacted. So we don't really know, other than names mentioned from Control F millions of times, what really the nitty gritty is. Understand? But it seems though Donald Trump. But yes, the Department of Justice is handling this, and if Pam Bondi's office is clearing some of this information to come out about Donald Trump and the media is running with it, fine. But I'm sure there's other stuff that's released that the media is not running with, and that's
well,
why I want
let's
to get
talk
into
about why these 3 million files were suddenly released when the Transparency Act required them to be released more than a month ago. They were suddenly released. Why do you think these files were suddenly released?
Well, you just said yourself, there's millions of them. And after back and forth between Congress and court and such a short window, maybe that's the reason why.
I would think that with all of the things going on in Minnesota, with people being shot dead in the street, that Donald Trump needed a distraction. And possibly the reason that the files were released so abruptly with them not being edited and Donald's name not being taken out, and they just released the files and then they're pulling the files when it's shown that Donald Trump's name is being used in or released in such horrific ways is because it was an emergency, tried to distract from everything going on in Minnesota. Because otherwise, I I would think that they would have done a better job in cleaning up the files before releasing. Just for argument's sake, there's 3 million files, right? That's a lot of files. I guess 3 million files takes a lot of computing power, right? If I was to put these files into a program, I don't know, Word, Docs, a computer file, and just type in Trump, right? And just type the word redacted under the word replace, it would take years for it to, oh no, it would probably take 2 minutes and everything will be cleared up and Donald Trump's name wouldn't be anywhere. So the fact that his name appears so many times and that they're pulling the files once it's been found shows that not only was it something that they released as an emergency thing for some reason or another, my opinion, let's get away from what's going on in Minnesota, but that it could have been done just a little bit better. The incompetency of releasing Donald Trump's name 5,300 times means they didn't even try. Or do you have another perspective on what might have been that allowed for such a high level of incompetency? Because I've never seen anything so incompetent in my entire life. It's ridiculous. What is your opinion?
Well, just like previous agencies with the DOJ program and purging of firing workers and some other snafus, this is probably a high probability of why this went down this way with such personnel changes, system changes under the administration transition. Then on top of that, remember they have to answer to Congress because Massey was able to get the votes necessary to make this go forward, and they have to ask the court to certain deadlines. On top of that, they have to follow certain laws when it comes to protection of peoples whose names are in there, whether they're minors or not. and redactions and some way back and forth. But there's certain guidelines for this, but seeing those under the public microscope, I think this is why also it's done so haphazardly.
But they also released victims' names as well, which was against the Transparency Act, which means in English it was against the law.
Can't have your cake and eat it too, Leo. So
I don't understand. You mean to tell me that that with all of the Department of Justice, brilliant attorneys, they couldn't hire somebody that knew how to use Word and could type in the name. And, when you type in a name, all of the places that's highlighted, and all you got to do is hit literally, there's a button that says replace all. So you hit the replace all button, and every single mention of that name, you just hit redacted, and they all disappear simultaneously. You mean to tell me, with all of the resources of the Department of Justice, with all of the billions of dollars that Donald Trump was able to grip since he's been in office, he couldn't hire somebody to push a button that says replace all and get his own name out of it? What the hell kind of ridiculous nonsense is this? I mean, this is real
well,
incompetency.
we don't know, Leo, because that's why Dan Bongino will probably resign. We just don't know until we're in that position and how complex this kind of scenario is.
I know that if you put it in Word and you type in the name, you type in any word, in any word. I don't care if it's a series of letters. It doesn't have to even be a word. How about that? You type in any word and you type in what you want the word to be. Then you hit the replace all button and it'll scan the entire document and replace all of those words,
In a
all of
PDF.
those groups of letters.
In a
No, in
PDF.
Word, in Word.
So they're going to take documents from the PDF files, convert them to Word, and do that. Is that how that works?
Yes, it would take all of 5 minutes. It's so complicated.
Okay, well, I'll leave that to the judgment of the viewers. So I appeal to their intelligence on this one. But yes, if you ever had to deal with the court system and documents on your end with your lawyer, and see how easy that takes. If the lawyer just focus on you.
Oh, well, and okay, but you have all of the resources of the Department of Justice, and this was supposed to be worked on since March last year when Pam Bondi said the files were on her desk. So you had what, 9, 10 months to do something that would take 5 minutes,
Well, that's not when
and
it.
all of the resources of the Department of Justice.
Well, remember, when did Thomas Massey and Congress actually pass enforce the bill that Trump signed to actually make this happen? Begrudgingly.
Right, but they've been claiming that this was something that they were doing for how long?
When you
Since
believe
March
them,
last
Leo,
year.
and
Since
you believe
March.
them, and you believe them, Leo.
No, I
You
don't.
believe
That's
them.
the entire. I don't.
Well,
That's
then
the
here we
entire
go.
point.
Good.
Well, I guess that's it for today's episode. Any closing statements?
This is why we are the media, and now so are you. So make sure you make the algorithm pay attention to all of us by sharing this content and adding your own thoughts and comments. Like, subscribe if you need to.
And this is Leon Dion signing out.